I want to thank you, Taz, for just providing this platform, period, for all these kids. Because, man, if you saw us with ragtag kids and we started to see guys grow up to adults and bring something like this to life, which is this is the lifeline to DMV b-boy. So it's very important. And you kids are becoming more skilled before 15 or 16 than some b-boys that I came up with ever got. So big respect to you guys, Taz. So I'm gonna the general history of DMV is a Virginia history, a DC, a Maryland, and Baltimore is a little bit separate from Maryland. We were a little further up, and we have our own individual beginnings also. And it all started, there was no scene, it was a club scene. Every single part of the DMV had their night, they had their club. And when you come up into that scene, you want to hold down that spot. So the guy that created my crew, his name is Bboy Shoogun. He had a partner named Dana. Avery and Dana was the guys from Baltimore. When you went down to DC, you would have guys like Vortex, which was Brent and Josh. These were the killers. You also had Ghost, Scrambles, which originally they were all natural elements. They broke apart because of LOZ, Lions Design, which is still a prominent crew, probably one of the most successful crews from this area. And then in Virginia, I don't know who really started off, but I know Xeno is what got the heavy hitters started. He was definitely the influence for these guys. So as you organically come together by going to clubs, you're searching for dancers. And it wasn't like, we were in communication. We would just show up, rec shop, and some other people were there. It was on. So as we started to become closer, more engaged as a community, a group called 3 Nines and ATD, with the help of Natural Elements, did an event called Raw Materials. Raw Materials is one of the first events outside in the park that brought all the crews together, all the DMV as a whole, and from that is our birthplace into what became the scene of the crews that came up throughout the 90s. Still, for my generation, the clubs were the most crucial part, and this was like, okay, this is what we do to support the culture. Now the people that were a little bit younger than me, like Taz, came up through those events, through the Zone, through the Raw Material Jams, through the Breaking for Bernie's, and then they came into the competition side as much younger, but very, very skilled. So in the club scene, we were doing everything. There was house dancers, hip hop freestyle dancers, lockers, poppers. I don't think anybody was crumping yet, but it was a good feel, and people weren't really sure where it was going to really start. It was not just strictly b-boys anymore in the 90s. But what happened was the house dancers, the ones with the power moves, started really being the best ones out there. Vortex being one, and his partner, it was Brent and Josh. Josh's b-boy name, I believe, was Tomcat, and they had very good power moves. Windmills, 90s, drill head spins, and Flowmaster, I'm not sure if any of you guys ever heard of him, but he is the most famous guy coming out of this area. He's amazing, one of my favorite dancers, but I'm pretty sure that Josh was the first person to say, look, I'm done with all the other styles. I'm breaking, strictly b-boying. Flowmaster came into a dance competition where Rocksteady was judging, as he developed his skills by going to New York with them. After that, it was a wrap. B-boys were b-boys. You might house when the music was changing, but the b-boys were now crews and an official. And I would say that's between 93 and 95 when all that really happened. After that, we started organizing events, and chronological order is one thing, but to know the names. Fresh Mama, who did Breakers Delight, was a huge influence. She, through events, and probably had the first people. She had Storm come. She had JoJo from Rocksteady, which is the original founder and president, show up. Partner for Fable, Penn Swift. You know, these are our idols and icons, and she's one of the first people to bring them down. Vortex and those guys brought Bboy Ivan, who is another incredible personality, and you can see him hosting the freestyle sessions now. But when you shout out the DMV and the originals, the guys that can't be missed, they're definitely Vortex, Tiger, FJ, Ghost, Scrambles, Golden Child, Avery, Dana. One of my mentors in hip hop is Buddha Monk, who isn't in the beginning of our scene, but he was predating our scene that fed the guys who fed us, and eventually came back around to be involved in it wholeheartedly. We started off as underground as it could be. It is not underground anymore. It's very organized. And originally that turns you off when you're coming into the scene with such a hardcore mentality. And then you start to see the maturity, what we're producing. I mean, these kids that would never get this chance to learn the skill set the way they have, it's incredible, man. I mean, you got kids 15 years old that are competing around the world now, and there's definitely a few kids that you'll see here today that they're on that path. And it's guys like us that came up from the 90s that did this. I think it's incredible. The history has to come through some clubs. The Paradox is in Baltimore. We drove past Buzz, which some of you look my age, but I'm not sure how many of you might have been in the clubs that I was in. But Buzz was a big club. The Edge, that party was called Colin. In Baltimore, they had the Spot. Hammerjacks, believe it or not, was a big place for us to go and dance. We've come a long way. So older B-boys, we love the dance, we love the music, and the push coming in and keep going are definitely my students. They love the music, they love the way we dance. Getting to teach them is an honor, and I feel lucky that every week I know I have to go get down. If you get caught up in life, you get an injury, which I've had many, and every time a rehab is back, just so I can get down with those kids right there every week. It's very hard. I know that the B-boys that aren't here, their heart is in it, and they still watch and see. They look at it as maybe like it's a sacrifice to get here. I think it's an honor to see it, you know. Seeing these dudes come up and just every step, I want to be there. I don't know. I know it made, for me, when those guys would slow down and show up, it empowered me to want to dance harder, and I could feel their energy regardless of how much they were putting down on the floor. I feel like your presence is important, and if you can look at crews with OGs, don't make as many mistakes as crews without them. We got caught up, dude, as soon as the internet came out, first thing we did was we were trolling everybody, and we were horrible. But that's what it was. And we have these kids and we look at it and say, oh man, this is great. Well, what my generation brings is a very musicality approach to dance. And it's not just break beats, it's not just hip hop, it's house, it's Baltimore club. And incorporating those steps into your traditional style of breaking, that's what my generation brings. I believe his generation brought the battle mentality and competition-wise. They were prepared, they understood travel. I think the newest generation, they're providing community and platform. They really do a good job of showcasing young talent, making sure events are held and organized. We were not organized. We were show up with a piece of paper, good luck, if it ever starts. And I think that's what to me, that's what the generations are bringing as far as individuals. Yeah, man.
Anybody else have a question for Shogun?
When you said killer, did you mean like a murderer killer or like killer that break accident?
Oh, you're talking like
Continue.
Did you mean killers like a murderer or like killers meaning like good?
Like really good and great dance.
Yeah. Not no murders. You just made this the best part of the whole thing. So just remember the big history of where we come from is from these clubs that are very important. They develop a bunch of hooligans into a few responsible B-boys that are in a really good place, and it's obvious that our work through TASK and a few others are providing a great, safe platform for these kids, and we just enjoy it. I don't want to take up a whole lot of time. Any question, if anybody has something on the side, I'm always available. I just want to shout out all the people that came before me, and love and respect to the DMV. Thank you.
Everybody give it up. Keep it going. Keep it going.